Come with me back to the year 2000. In the year 2000, well, one, it was easier to get out of bed because our current political climate wasn't a mess. You didn't want to spend all day with your head under a pillow. But besides that, the biggest questions of the day were, who's better, NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys? And the answer is NSYNC, obviously. In the year 2000, a television show premiered called Survivor. And during the season finale, when they were going to decide who was ultimately kicked off the island and who got to stay, or however it worked, it's been a while, there was a commercial for an automobile called the Pontiac Aztek. It came on during the season finale, and also the winner of the show would get one of the first Pontiac Azteks ever created. So if you were watching the finale, this is what you saw. And you'll have to pardon the quality. They didn't have high definition back in the year 2000, so this was what we had to deal with back then. Pontiac Aztek. So the US is a car culture. I think of myself as a pretty good driver, but if I tried to drive onto a pier, the very next thing would be the rescue helicopters coming and trying to get my body out of the water. Like, don't try that at home. Okay, so it's the year 2000. The US car company Pontiac launched the Pontiac Aztek, this beautiful machine behind me. Pontiac had read the market, and they saw that there was a need in the market for something that wasn't a hatchback, wasn't a station wagon, wasn't a minivan, and wasn't a pickup truck. There was a need for this. It's called the crossover vehicle, the Pontiac Aztek, and Pontiac had high hopes for the Aztek. They projected to sell 70,000 Azteks per year, which is a lot of automobiles. And from the CEO on down, they had organizational-wide buy-in. Every team, every person, everybody was moving full steam ahead to launch the Aztek, which is great. That's what you want. You want everybody excited and rallying around one common goal. They put their best designers and best engineers on it. And they built, which was for the year 2000, a very advanced vehicle. Yeah. So when they launched the car, it was an immediate failure. Immediately, people said, this is one of the worst looking cars of all time. And that still holds true. Even now, people refer to it as the worst looking car ever designed. On top of that, though, it was really expensive. Like, really expensive. Like, if you have the money to buy a nice car, you're going to buy a nice car. If you have money saved up to buy a car, you're not going to choose an ugly car. So, like, nobody was going to buy this. Even if they had a choice, like, they weren't going to pick the ugly car. What went wrong? All the pieces were in place, right? There was a business opportunity. The entire organization was aligned around this one goal. All the teams were working together. I don't know, what happened? Let's see. They had internal alignment, that's good, right? Another thing that happened was they hit all of their internal deadlines. Like, all the project managers set deadlines, and they met all those goals. They met all their deadlines, which, that's admirable. The teams were proud of that at Pontiac. Something was missing, though. I don't know what it is. Users. They ignored the users. They ignored user feedback. See, Pontiac tested the vehicle with consumers. And the people that they tested the vehicle with did not like the Aztek at all. Like, they actively hated it. They said, this is the ugliest car I've ever seen in my life. But here's the thing. The folks at Pontiac felt like they had a winner. Because all of them felt like we're rallying around this one cause. We're all working together. We all feel good about this. It's an advanced concept that we brought to market. We've got this right. The people we tested it with are just dead wrong. We know best. And so they proceeded on their course, and they launched the vehicle. So because of this, the product is wrong. They priced it way too high for the people they wanted to sell it to. Their sales projections were way off. Like I said, they expected to sell 70,000 vehicles per year. They actually sold 11,500 over 6 months. And I'm not a math wizard, but I don't think that projects out to 70,000 within a year. I could be wrong. So all their financial modeling was off. They didn't make nearly the revenue that they thought they would, because the combination of poor design and high price made it just a non-starter. Nobody was going to buy this vehicle. The shame of the Aztek, though, is that, well, when people got into the car without looking at it, which, nobody really does that, but when people got into the car and they sat in the seats, they were like, oh, this is comfortable. And I like where the stereo controls are, and the air conditioning is easy to work with, and it drives really smoothly, and I really like the acceleration. So people liked the vehicle from the inside out. But from the outside, again, it was a non-starter. But this was the year 2000, right? We've come a long way from these mistakes. We don't make these same mistakes anymore. Thank you all. Okay, I have a little bit more. We still make mistakes. A few years ago, Jeff Bezos launched the Amazon Fire phone. It was an expensive phone that was designed to compete with the best of Apple and the best of Samsung. Slight problem, though, it lacked the features that most smartphone buyers rely on. So for one, its App Store didn't support the Starbucks app. It also didn't support Google Maps. So why is this important? In the US, 23 million daily active users use the Starbucks app to purchase coffee. That's a big chunk of your phone market. 67% of smartphone users, when they use a navigation app, they use Google Maps. So the Fire phone didn't support the Starbucks app. The Fire phone didn't support Google Maps. That's kind of a problem. The phone did not support the habits of the people it intended to sell to. So for a company that relentlessly focuses on customer service and satisfaction, they completely missed the mark here. The phone was a complete flop, similar to the Pontiac Aztek, and Amazon lost more than $170 million on it, which it's a drop in the bucket. That's Jeff Bezos' walking around money. But still, that's not something to be proud of, that you lost $170 million US dollars. And this happened because they didn't align the phone to the needs of the users. Amazon recovered. Pontiac, like the Aztek, was one of the final nails in its coffin, and Pontiac went out of business 2 years later. So a lot of factors went into the failures of the Aztek and the Fire phone. There's plenty of blame to go around. But how do we keep these failures from happening again? How do we mitigate the chances of going too far down the wrong path before we realize we're making a big mistake? How do we get all parts of an organization to share what they know, to call out the risks? Here's the thing. Most every organization knows it should be doing research, right? That's why we're all here. We're doing research. We're doing something dedicated to the user experience. We know we should be gathering the information we need to make informed product decisions. And we have models that tell us how to empathize and prototype and implement to do our best work. We're supposed to analyze and test and prototype. We need to enter a discovery phase. I'm looking at this to make sure I've got it right, where we focus group and interview and survey. If you search in Google for UX models, you'll get all of these pretty diagrams. But we know as an industry that we need to put our users first at the center of our work. And we need to make endless diagrams, apparently, to demonstrate that we care about users. So despite knowing all this, despite knowing how important it is to do user-centered work, the deck is stacked against us. And specifically, it's stacked against UX research. On LinkedIn right now, there are 45,000 open full-stack engineer jobs worldwide. It's a lot of jobs. If you search for UX designer on LinkedIn right now, there are 23,000 open jobs around the world. Okay, we're employable. This is great. There are 2,000 open user research roles on LinkedIn right now. So we know users are important. We know talking to users is important. We have diagrams that show that users are important. We're not hiring anybody to do this work. There's a gigantic gap here between researchers and everyone else dedicated to the user experience. which means that we can't say that understanding users is someone else's job. No one is coming to save us. We're not hiring them. Those jobs do not exist. There isn't someone else, so it's got to be us in this room. And it could be any of us. It's all of us. It's our responsibility. And I know this because I see us doing research every single day. Only we don't call it research, right? We call it, hey, the new iPhone 11 came out. Should I buy it? It has this type of camera and this much storage, and oh, look at all these features. How does that compare to this Pixel 4 that's coming out? And I have the last model of the iPhone, so how does that compare? We're doing that research. We call it making dinner plans. Think about the lengths we go to find the right restaurant for a gathering of friends. We look at distance from central locations and is there a space available for us? And how does that compare to if we're booking a family dinner and we want a quiet place with the right menu because some people are gluten intolerant and we have a vegan in the party? We think about all this stuff every day in the things we decide in the daily course of our lives. We call it searching for a job. We call it planning a trip. What do we do when we plan a trip? If you're like me, maybe you have a list of places you'd like to go to one day. We note down places we want to visit. And maybe we do a search. Is it worth going to Wellington? Yes, it is. Totally worth it. What sites are there? How does this city compare to another city? What's the currency rate there? Will my dollar go farther there? What do I need to know about visiting these cities? This is the only time that the Net Promoter Score is worthwhile, when you actually ask a friend or family member, hey, would you recommend I go to this place? Otherwise, throw away your Net Promoter Scores. They're not worth it. But we ask people, hey, you traveled to Barcelona last year. What do you think? Should I go there or should I go somewhere else? We're doing interviews. We're sending out emails to our friends asking for their thoughts. We're sending surveys. We get into the logistics game. We start figuring out, well, can I fly there? How much would it cost? I wonder if I can afford a first-class ticket. No, I can't afford a first-class ticket. That's ridiculous. Why would I even think about that? Then we look at the cities we're traveling to, and we think, what part of town should I stay in? Okay, what hotels are there? Ooh, I wonder if I could afford a suite in that part of. No, I can't afford a suite. That's ridiculous. Why would I can't afford that. No. And then we start thinking about, well, how long would it take to get there? How much can I get away from work? Do I have the time to do this? Is my passport even still valid? Oh gosh, do I need a visa? Do I have time to apply for a visa? It's very easy to get a visa for here, so kudos to your government. It was awesome. Then you book a trip and you're thinking, how do I get from the airport to the hotel? How do I get from the hotel to the conference venue, to restaurants nearby? Am I gonna take a train, a bus? Am I gonna walk? What do I do? What's the weather there? Do I need to bring a rain jacket? Should I pack an umbrella? So if I'm not mistaken, I just shared the plot of Eat, Pray, Love, a book from 2006. And also, if you're wondering how many different icons from Keynote could I fit into one presentation, all of them. But if we could take this act of just planning a trip, which sounds like a simple task, and we leave no stone unturned, and we use all of our resources, and we put all of our powers into planning the perfect trip, why don't we bring these skills into our day-to-day jobs? Why aren't we uncovering every stone? Why aren't we bringing these problem solving and information gathering and logistics investigations into our day-to-day? Because that's what we have to do if we don't have researchers. It's on all of us to put these skills to use. We think like this in every facet of our lives, like I said, from planning a meal to buying a phone to planning a trip. But when it comes to how our organizations are structured, we silo people and we silo teams, which means we're siloing information. We work inside of our little boxes. But if you have a sales team, you have leads and prospects you could talk to. You have a marketing team, you have market research, hopefully. If you have a support team, you have support tickets where you know what's broken, what are people complaining about, what are people requesting. If you have a product that you sell or that requires a login, you have contact information to get in touch with people. If you sell a physical product, you can go watch people as they enter your storefront, as they work with the sales staff. We're just taking these travel planning skills, these phone buying skills, and we're bringing them to our work. So whatever our role, whatever our team, whatever it is that we're doing, it's up to us to take those skills, to find the information within our organizations that are going to help us make more informed product decisions. And this isn't a novel idea. So the W.L. Gore Company, they're the ones who make Gore-Tex, which I love Gore-Tex. Keeps me dry, keeps my feet dry. But the people who make Gore-Tex, they saw a better way. At Gore, they follow this flat, latticed organizational structure. There aren't chains of command, there aren't silos. People swarm onto a project that they want to work with. Then they swarm onto a different project. And no matter where you are, what project you're on, you are still mandated to support other people in the organization. If you have information that will help other people, it is up to you to find those people and share it. If you're somebody who needs information for the project you're working on, it's up to you to go to anybody and ask questions. No silos, no chain of command. Find the information that will help you make better product decisions. Everyone is encouraged to do this, from the CEO on down. Paul Adams of the software company Intercom gave a talk at UX London, I think it was in 2017, where he implored people to stop thinking that UX is the center of the universe. UX is not the center of the universe. He's absolutely right. We're limiting our universe to some very specific perspectives, the product, the user, and not the rest of the organization. Like I mentioned, sales. I don't see the sales team in any of these models here. I don't see the accounting team anywhere. They know where the money is. They know where the money's coming from. I don't see the support team here. They know where the issues are. For user-centered design models, they leave a lot out of the user experience. Let's look at a different UX model. This is from the Nielsen-Norman group. And their model is called UX Activities in the Product and Service Design Cycle. And to their credit, in this model in particular, they do recommend sales and support information. They recommend going to your support team and monitoring support calls, which is fantastic, right? That's what we should be doing. We should be using all the information at our resources, all the information that's available to us. But the Nielsen-Norman group also went a little further, and they looked at which UX methods are actually used by teams. Sales and support are nowhere to be found. So it's bad enough that there's a shortage of UX researchers to do this work, to talk to users. But we're not even talking to the people within our own organizations who have this information that will help us make better decisions, right? This is readily available information, and we're ignoring it. So when's the last time you involved your support team in a product kickoff? When's the last time you invited your sales team to a product review? How do we start getting these perspectives into our day-to-day? I mean, it can be as easy as a Slack message or an email. We need to start thinking like this. We need to start interrogating which perspectives are we missing in our product decisions? Which perspectives within our own organizations that are an email or a Slack message away, which of these voices are we not using in service to our product decisions? It only takes one Slack message or one email to bring more perspective to the table, to avoid an Amazon Fire Phone scenario where somebody can say, we should probably put Google Maps on there before we launch. Otherwise, we're going to be dead in the water. So in the early days of MailChimp, back when we were tiny, I would send instant messages to our support team. And I'd say, I'm looking at this page. I'm working on a new flow. I'm curious, have we gotten any complaints or any feedback about this? Just a DM, just a simple message. Or I'd say, hey, do we know anything about people from outside the United States who are signing up, like what industries they're coming from, what types of businesses they are? Again, just a simple DM. And if I don't hear anything back or the response is, yeah, we've got nothing, fine. But at least I've turned over that stone. But if they do have information, I'm making more informed product decisions, right? I'm not guessing. I'm using the available information, and it's only a message away. Over time, that relationship matured between the MailChimp support team and the MailChimp product organization. Help Scout published an article about 1.5 years ago where they talked about how the support team is now, they have members embedded on different product teams at MailChimp, so that for any project, at kickoff, the support team knows, okay, I'm going to go back and look through our queue and see all the support tickets related to this thing. And throughout the product development process, I can also be on the lookout for new information that comes in, so that we're making use of the information that is here within the organization, and it's not going to waste. So I currently lead user research for Vox Media. We are a number of different digital publications, including one publication called The Verge. The Verge focuses on technology and culture. And part of my role is to help our editorial teams understand their audiences, and part of my role is helping our product team make better user experiences. So we were going to send out a survey to the Verge audience. This served two goals. One was to understand, well, what do people like about The Verge, which that's kind of important to know. What in particular do they value about The Verge? Is it the reviews? Is it the deep dives into like Facebook support centers? Is it specific writers? Is it the podcasts? Is it the videos? And then for the product team, this was going to help us because we would understand, okay, if people really love our podcasts, how do we make it easier for people to find, sample, and sign up for a podcast? If it's the newsletters, how do we make it more transparent how to sign up for a newsletter? So we wanted to know all this information about the Verge audience. So we put out a survey. And the goals were understand the audience, use that information also to make a better product experience. For The Verge, it was also going to help them understand how to resource their content. So if people love reviews, hire more people to do reviews. If people love investigative journalism, hire more people to do that work. Now, we knew that people liked our reviews, but we wanted to quantify it somehow. So we wanted to understand, why do people like our reviews? Have they bought something based on a review? How much money did they spend based on a review? It's good information for The Verge to know. Like I said, it helps them figure out their content. It's good information for the product team to know. Like I said, it helps us understand how to design a better experience. And if that was the extent of our work, and we sent out the survey, and we got feedback, I could say, cool, we're done. We got the information that's going to help us. We could say we had conducted generative user research in service of the product and editorial teams. We could say we listened to the voice of the user and call it a day. We could stop drilling, we struck oil. But why stop there? That leaves so much on the table. See, I included our marketing team in this work. This is helpful for the marketing team. The information is going to help them, but also there's probably things that they want to know that's going to help them do their jobs better. And they said, if we have a question in there about reviews and what people value, let's find out what actions people take after they read a review. And it turns out a significant majority of our audience actually buys a product immediately after they read one of our reviews. That's a story we can market. People trust our reviews. We also included our sales team. And the sales team wanted to know, how much do our readers earn per year? And how much of that money do they spend on technology products? Well, it turns out that our readers earn a lot of money. And they spend a lot of that money on technology. That's a sales pitch. If you advertise with us, your ad is being seen by an audience that has money to spend, and they spend it on technology. When you put all of these perspectives together, when you keep asking whose perspective are we missing out, are we leaving out in this study, you have an opportunity to connect the entire organization, to get them all invested in making more informed decisions. You open up these lines of communication, and then you start building better products and experiences. Support becomes a partner. Sales becomes a partner. Marketing becomes a partner. You start building these connections, and you start building that muscle of, okay, let's see who we can include. Whose perspective are we missing out? And we avoid the gaps that Pontiac fell into, where they didn't listen to their users, and they were leaving a lot of information out of the product decision-making process and launching a terrible car. We avoid the mistakes that Amazon got into with the Fire Phone, where there's nobody saying, hold up, maps, we should probably include maps. You start getting people asking, are we missing anything? Whose perspective are we leaving out? We're not hiring researchers, so it's up to all of us to say, whose perspective are we missing? It's up to us to say, have we checked with the support team? What can I learn from sales? I'm going to send them a quick message. It's up to us to interrogate, where did this project even originate? What was the goal here? How might I help? We're already doing this research. Like I said, if we can plan a trip, if we can figure out which phone to buy, we could take those investigative skills, I'm going to figure out what information I need and what I can gather to make a better decision. We could take those skills and bring them into our day-to-day. We could take that innate curiosity and channel it into making better product decisions. So before I relinquish the stage, if you thought this was interesting at all and you're curious about research practices and product orgs, I'm putting together a book of essays from product leaders from around the world. It's coming out in early 2020. You can sign up on my website, gregg.io. On the other hand, if you hated all of this, remember I'm Dan Brown. I spoke yesterday morning. Okay? You can complain about me on Twitter. Thank you so much. This was a delight. I'll be available to answer questions next door. Thank you.